Hello. It's been a while, but today I just really thought that I should record because I've been reading this book by V.S. Naipaul, A Bend in the River, and it's been very surprising, I would say. The experience has been really enjoyable so far. More than expected, really. But yes, so I'd start off by saying that what struck me most about this book is how familiar the writer is with the subject matter, how comfortable, how much he understands it, and how that adds to the quality of the book. I think that really makes it more nuanced and more human. The narrative is so much more human and layered, and really, so I think that struck me, and that really reflects in his writing too, because the familiarity with which he discusses Africa and his life there is because he has lived what he is writing. He has lived it, he has experienced it. Now let's get on to the book. So one of the major themes of the book is dislocation, feeling as though you don't belong. I think we all have had this feeling, and there are so many varieties of it, really. But what is really remarkable about this book is that it explores many of them. Like, for example, when you're geographically displaced from your home, so then there's that homesickness and that feeling, that culture shock. So then that's a kind of dislocation. But also there's the dislocation of the feeling of not being aligned with how the world works, because not really knowing how it works, how it functions, and like not feeling as though you can really easily adjust to that. So I think I relate to that feeling a lot. But again, the novel starts with this very famous quote. I'm sure you must all have heard it. The world is what it is, and men who are nothing, who allow themselves to be nothing, have no place in it. So this philosophy of life, it begins with this quote, because it's really ironic, because this dislocation I'm speaking of, this misalignment, it is really present in all the main characters, in Inda, in Salim, and so many more. And so this is, I think, one of the major themes, feeling as though you do not belong, as though you don't understand how the world functions, how it operates, and you can't understand it. So the character of Inda, which is, I think, really, again, very layered, it's so lifelike, so human. So not like cardboard, like many, not like a cardboard figure. It's 3D, it's like really a person. So it's about him and how, with all his education, that doesn't ensure that he'll succeed in life, that he'll have a good job or any of that. So that's really a shock for him, and he reinvents himself as a globe-trotting intellectual to get away from this, because the odds are really stacked up against him, because he's an Indian in, I think, the 60s, yes. So he won't really succeed automatically, so then with all his education. But then, however, he, in the end, it all comes to naught, because he realizes that the people whom he thought were equals had actually much more power and influence, just because of who they were born as, because they were white and they were influential and they were European. And so that's so I think, back to the quote, the world is what it is, I think it's really ironic, because even though Salim, the protagonist, subscribes this philosophy of life for himself, it doesn't work out for him. And it doesn't work out for Inda either, because they aren't really those, they don't adjust. They do try, and there's their life there ahead of them, and especially Inder, because he struggles to do so. Because of his pride, because of his ego, he doesn't really adjust to how the world works. I think the second major theme I'd like to discuss before we come to a conclusion is that the idea of the old Africa and the new Africa. And I think that's again so very complex, so complicated, and it's really hard to explain it really, because the new president, at first he tries to usher Africa into the modern world with those development projects and all that, and so he really tries, and he also tries to unify Africa and presents himself as a relatable figure, as an African. So, but then in the end, he ends up destroying some very important aspects of the old Africa, because he doesn't reach a middle ground, and I don't think it's easy at all to reach a middle ground. So then it ends up badly, and Africa's future seems even more unstable. Like, there are many themes discussed in the book. I would also say that it's the instability that comes with living in a place where there's conflict, where there's turmoil. I could really relate to that. So again, there's that, and the anxiety and depression that comes with it. And because your future is very uncertain, and there are very different ways to respond to that. But I think Salim responds to it with passivity. He pretends that everything is unchanged, like his shop and everything. He doesn't really respond to it actively. So there's that, and there's also that they all carry on. The people, even though there's always that threat of political violence, they carry on despite that. And they know that they're expendable, they know that anything can happen anytime and it can take everything away from them, but still they carry on. So yes, this is it. Thank you for listening to this. I hope it helped.